Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, thank you for joining me. If you are a regular visitor, thanks for coming back. Either way, please subscribe and check out the rest of my videos and see if you like them. Today, I'm going to be talking about world athletics and track and field. And I've had some time to reflect on the recent World Athletic Championships that took place in Eugene, Oregon. And I've been a big track and field fan for many decades and have been to several Olympic Games and Commonwealth Games and watched a lot of track and field events around the world. And I've always been amazed by why the sport is not so popular. And it has taken somebody like Usain Bolt to shine a real light on the sport, I guess. But since Bolt's retired, world athletics has gone back into its shell, I feel, and there's a lot of issues within the sport, so I want to talk about them in this particular video. The first thing I want to acknowledge is that in the past couple of years, of course, the world's been affected by this virus, and it's also hit and impacted the sporting world in tremendously different ways. And track and field is not a sport that's been immune to that impact, so I think we need to look at that as a key fact in why sports are struggling in general, but also why track and field is struggling. Now, if you look at the business model of track and field, it's pretty much been the same for ever and a day. And one of the main issues I feel that is current in the world of athletics is that it's not seen as a sustainable career path for athletes. So if you look at other sports, particularly basketball and tennis and golf, you've got these pathways where young people starting off in the sport can actually see the potential to make a financial sustainable career out of some of those sports without necessarily reaching the top level. Whereas athletics, track and field, it's another story. It's a struggle the whole way, and there's only a very small percentage of those who make it to the top, the elite, who actually can create a sustainable lifestyle out of that. So I think that's one of the issues that world athletics need to address, is looking at how to make their sport more sustainable for young people to see it as an actual career path. And there's no reason why this can't be done. I think a lot of the things that I'm talking about in this video today come down to leadership. And I've got my own opinions about the strength, or should I say the weakness, of the current leadership of world athletics, and the lack of vision and execution when it comes to walking the talk is very apparent in that organization. And I believe, I have a personal opinion about that, there's a lot of politics involved, there's been corruption involved, there's no doubt about it. It hasn't been proven in some circles, but in other circles it has. And there's a lot of ego attached to the top of the tree in the World Athletics Organization. So until some of those things are addressed, we're going to keep seeing the same old problems. And of course, the shame about that is that it's the athletes that suffer. It's the young people that are coming through who don't have the opportunities. And that's a real shame in itself. So I think there needs to be some changes within the World Athletics organizations. Right at the top of the organization, there needs to be people brought in who have experience in running global businesses, who have a lot of innovation skills, and who are able to market the sport in a different way. If you look at some of the stars that came out of the World Athletics Championships in Oregon in the past month, people like Noah Lyles, Sydney McLaughlin, these names should be household names in the sporting world across our world, but they're not, and that's because not enough people follow track and field. And the same old story gets to be said time and time again. It's because of eyeballs and television networks not picking up the events. Well, you've got to make these events more appealing to the public. And I've always thought that a competition like the World Athletics Championships that goes across 10 days is far too long for people in this day and age to keep their attention span. So there needs to be a new model. We've seen it in golf, we're seeing it in cricket, and these sports have reinvented themselves to appeal to the public, to get more viewership, and we need to see the same thing in athletics. We need to see a move away from the traditions of having athletics solely based on a track and taken to the cities of the world and the towns of the world so more people can get up close and personal with not only the athletes but the sport in general. We have to make it more accessible to people by taking it to the people and not letting infrastructure be the bone of contention. You know, why do we have to build another track? Why can't we have a sport being played in a city in a different and innovative and creative way? These are some of the things that I think need to happen within the world of athletics. And until we have this out-of-the-box thinking within the World Athletics Organization, we're not going to see too much change to the sustainability of the sport. Sponsors are only going to get interested in the sport if there's eyeballs and there's a potential for them to create new markets with their products and services. And like any marketing campaign, you need to be able to sell that on the basis of creating new market opportunities for these sponsors. And we don't see, well, I don't see any of that happening within world athletics at the moment. What we see is a continuation of looking at a track, seeing some sponsors' names, and that's about all. We're not actually involving the sponsors' products too much in the sport. We're not giving the sponsors enough creativity leeway to make new opportunities within the sport. And we're not obviously working with the sponsors to find out how we can take our sports to the next level. And that's really, really missing within the world of track and field. So again, you know, I focus on people like Noah Lyles and Sydney McLaughlin, who in their own right are going to do well because they're at the top of the tree. But, you know, these are young kids that have come through the university system, the US, the NCAA system. And, you know, they're sensational athletes and they should be up there. And we should be talking about these athletes and revealing these athletes just like we do the Nadals, the Federers, the LeBrons, all these people, because they are the pinnacle of their sport. Yet we don't get to see it that much throughout our media in particular. So whilst the World Athletics Championships may have been seen as a success because of some of the quality of the events, it brings me back to the same old mantra all the time. It's the athletes that create the show. And we don't need a World Athletics Championships to do that. We're seeing sensational running and throwing and jumping at the moment in the Diamond League series, which is not medal bound. It's you know, financially bound for those elite athletes. But underneath that, we don't have enough happening for the younger athletes coming through who are not yet at that level. We've seen the Commonwealth Games just taking place in Birmingham recently. And a lot of hype around that particular event. And I think the Commonwealth Games is a great platform for young, inspiring athletes to come up. But again, financial security and a pathway to success for them in a sporting career is not assured just because they compete in the Commonwealth Games. And I think if we're going to have a sporting event like that, it needs to be attached to some kind of pathway that helps these young athletes go on and be recognised, but also create financial security for them going forward. So a lot can be done in the world of athletics. A lot is not being done in the world of athletics. And I'm calling it out a little bit because I'm sick and tired of seeing and hearing stories of athletes that have had to retire because they can't financially keep it going. They're not getting support from their federations at a local level or a national level. And they're certainly not getting the support from the governing body at a global level. So I think World Athletics needs to take a hard, long look at itself. It's got to do more for the fans as well. We see, you know, I'm in Mexico. I couldn't even get to see the World Athletics Championships here because I wasn't able to use the device that I'm on to connect to the streaming service that they provided. Now that's just unacceptable in these days. We have to be able to access these events from wherever we are at any time we want to. That's why it's called on demand. And World Athletics still have a lot to learn. If you look at what Formula One's done as a business model over the last couple of years, they've made their sport more accessible. They've created more backstories for their sport. And as a result, the Formula One global audience is growing significantly. And World Athletics can take some tips away from the Formula One world and business model on how they've done that. But again, it comes back to the current leadership, and I find it difficult to accept that the current leaders of the World Athletics Organization are going to make any significant changes that are going to impact this generation of athletes, and that's very, very sad. So yeah, tell me what you think. I'm really interested to know, are you somebody that watches track and field? Why do you watch track and field? What ideas have you got to change track and field to make it more appealing to broadcasters, to sponsors, and to sports fans in general? Because that's what needs to happen if we're going to see track and field truly take on a new dimension, which it deserves. And I want to see a lot more young people getting involved in the sport. Let's face it, it's one of the easiest sports to get involved in. You put on a pair of running shoes, you go out and you go for a run, and you never know where that run can lead you to becoming a Olympic champion, a gold medalist, or a Commonwealth champion. That's what dreams are made for, and that's what sports should be all about. So interested to hear your views. Thank you for watching my video, and thank you for supporting my channel. I'll be back again soon with some more sports news or opinion pieces on the world of sport. Until then, stay safe everybody, and stay well.